So right now, while you're watching this, there's a second brain inside your body making decisions. And it's not the one in your skull. It's in your gut. Like, literally wrapped around your intestines. And the wildest part isn't that it exists, it's that it's been quietly bossing you around your entire life and nobody thought to mention it. Your gut has roughly 500 million neurons. For context, that's more than your spinal cord, more than your cat's entire brain. There is a neural network lining your digestive tract that is more complex than the thing keeping your cat alive. And your cat can open doors and plot revenge, so that's saying something. Scientists call it the enteric nervous system, which is a very boring name for something that essentially functions as a second command center running operations behind your back. Think of it like a shadow government, except instead of conspiracies, it's handling digestion, immune responses, and, here's the kicker, your mood, your actual emotional state. The thing you thought was between you and your therapist, your stomach's been in that group chat the whole time. Okay, but here's where it starts to get genuinely unsettling. There's a nerve called the vagus nerve. It's the longest cranial nerve in your body, runs from your brainstem all the way down to your gut, and it's basically a superhighway of information. But here's what nobody tells you. About 90% of the signals traveling along that nerve go up, not down. Meaning, your gut is sending way more messages to your brain than your brain is sending to your gut. Your stomach isn't taking orders, it's giving them. Your brain thinks it's the CEO, but your gut is the board of directors quietly overriding decisions from a basement office. You know that feeling when you're about to do something stupid and your stomach just clenches? That's not metaphorical anxiety. That is your enteric nervous system physically reacting to information before your conscious brain has finished processing it. Your gut figured out the situation was bad before you did. It's like having a friend who reads the spoilers and tries to warn you with body language because they promise not to say anything. And this gets even more unhinged when you bring in serotonin. Serotonin, basically the chemical your brain uses to keep you from spiraling into existential dread at 3 in the morning, most people assume it's a brain thing. It's not. Roughly 95% of your body's serotonin is produced in your gut. 95%. Your happiness chemical is being manufactured in the same place that processes gas station sushi. The organ you've been ignoring, unless it actively hurts, is running the factory that determines whether you feel okay about being alive. This is why your diet can absolutely wreck your mental health in ways that seem completely disconnected. You eat garbage for a week, and suddenly you're doom scrolling at 2 a.m., feeling like nothing matters. You didn't develop depression from a bag of Doritos, but your gut bacteria shifted, serotonin production dipped, and your mood followed it down like a kid being dragged out of a birthday party. The connection is so direct it's almost insulting. You wanted complex psychological reasons for your sadness, and sometimes the answer is literally, you haven't eaten a vegetable in 9 days. Which brings us to the thing nobody told you about gut bacteria. And honestly, this part sounds like science fiction. You have about 39 trillion microorganisms living in your gut. That's more bacterial cells than human cells in your body. You are, by the numbers, more bacteria than person. Sit with that for a second. You're essentially a coral reef that pays taxes. These bacteria don't just passively hang out, they actively influence your cravings. Some researchers, who apparently have the most fascinating and disturbing jobs on Earth, found that different gut bacteria release chemicals that make you want to eat specific foods, the foods that feed them. So when you're standing in front of the fridge at midnight, convinced you need cheese, that craving might not even be yours. It might be a billion tiny organisms collectively lobbying your nervous system like the world's smallest, most effective special interest group. They tested this on mice, because apparently mice are just tiny furry volunteers at this point. Germ-free mice, mice raised with zero gut bacteria, showed completely different behavior patterns. More anxiety, worse memory, altered social behavior. They put bacteria back in, and the mice chilled out. The bacteria were literally adjusting the mice's personalities. And before you say, well, that's mice, they've since found similar mechanisms in humans. Your microbiome is influencing your stress response, your sleep patterns, possibly even your risk tolerance. There's preliminary research suggesting gut bacteria composition might affect how introverted or extroverted you are, which means your personality might be partially a group project with organisms you can't see. And that's not even the most unhinged part. your gut can learn. Not in a studying for finals way, but it forms patterns, remembers reactions, adapts to inputs without any involvement from your brain whatsoever. It runs reflexes completely independently. If you cut the vagus nerve, severed the connection entirely, your gut would keep functioning. It would keep digesting, keep producing serotonin, keep running its little operation like a franchise location that lost contact with corporate and just decided to wing it. Your brain cannot say the same in reverse. It needs the gut's input. The gut does not need the brain's permission. This is why stress hits your stomach first, why fear makes you nauseous, why heartbreak genuinely, physically feels like something is wrong with your insides. Your gut isn't reacting to your emotions. It's participating in them. It's co-authoring the experience. Every gut feeling you've ever had was this system firing off assessments faster than your prefrontal cortex could put together a PowerPoint about it. So here's the part you can actually use. Fermented foods. Yogurt, kimchi, sauerkraut, that weird kombucha your coworker won't shut up about. They directly feed the bacteria that produce neurotransmitters. Some clinical trials found that specific probiotic strains reduced anxiety symptoms as effectively as low-dose medication. Not instead of medication, not medical advice, but the fact that bacteria you swallow can change how anxious you feel is the kind of sentence that should require a warning label. Pay attention to how different foods make you feel 2 hours later, not during. The immediate taste is your mouth's opinion. The aftermath is your gut's review. And your gut's review actually matters more for your long-term mental state. Start treating your gut like what it actually is. A second brain with its own agenda, its own chemical factory, and its own opinions about your life choices. Because here's the thing that genuinely keeps me up at night. Every decision you think you're making with pure rational thought is being filtered through a system you barely knew existed, influenced by trillions of organisms that aren't even technically you, processed through a neural network that evolved before your prefrontal cortex did. Free will's already a sketchy concept, and now you gotta factor in that a colony of bacteria in your intestines might be the reason you ordered pizza instead of cooking tonight. You're not a person with a gut. You're a gut that grew a person around it for transportation.